Hi, I'm Akasa, the Red Reddit one, and you are watching Two Drink Minimum. Drink, drink. Drink, drink.
Age of the Geek, baby. Or is it the Age of the Hodge? Okay, party people. You are in the place to be. What's going on? It's me, it's me. I just left the Brian Banks movie here at the Grove, where everybody's motto seems to be, let's run into the short, chubby, ridiculously sexy black guy. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. You shouldn't be able to hear that copyrighted music in the background, which apparently is a problem, even though this video clearly has nothing to do with that song. Will never have anything to do with that song, but YouTube is fucking stupid. Anyway, so just got out of the Brian Banks movie. It was better than I actually thought it was going to be. I had some reservations. When it came to the acting on Sherry Shepherd's part, especially. I had some reservations when it came to, not reservations, but apprehension, a little nervousness for Aldous Hodge, who I am a fan of since his Leverage days. Fucking Age of the Geek, baby. But this movie quelled a lot of that for me. It had its issues. It wasn't a perfect movie, but it certainly wasn't a terrible movie either. A lot of it may be from the strength of just knowing the actual case. I'm gonna try not to do a spoiler, but if you saw the escalator temporarily stairs. If you saw the trailer, there's not too much that the trailer didn't already tell you. Said he was wrongfully convicted of a crime, didn't tell you what that crime was, and they tried to overturn it, and all the inspirational music and stuff should have told you really what happened. So, it's not a whole lot in terms of spoilers. This is another one that's not a whole lot in terms of spoilers to actually spoil for you. Other than 3, 2, 1, the crime was rape that he was wrongfully convicted of. That's about it. There's not too much more to spoil for you, especially because it's an actual case. And they seemingly got a significant portion of the actual set of circumstances relatively accurate for the depiction of this movie. So, quote unquote spoiler territory now, I suppose. Long and the short of it, Brian Banks sees this girl in the hallway. He's a rising football star. You all know the story. He sees this girl in the hallway, takes her into this part of school where everybody goes to make out, past all these hallways with open classes and whatnot. He gets scared off by like a teacher or something coming down, and rather than elegantly duck out, he he's just like I don't feel like doing, I'm not really feeling this right now, and takes off. And the movie makes it seem like he hurt her feelings, and that's why she lied and told people that she was raped by Brian Banks. Now, the person she initially tells is the security guard that catches her walking from the scene of the heavy petting and kissing and whatnot. And then it snowballs into her telling cops that, and etc., etc., etc. Brian Banks is going down for something he didn't do. Let's go over the parts that worked really well for this. First off, in terms of the acting, most of the acting was actually really good. The girl in question and her mom seem like a stereotype off top. Except if you know what off top means as opposed to off the top or at first or whatever more average Caucasoid vernacular means. If you heard me say off top and you have said and or will say off top, then you've met girls like this before. Not necessarily the accusation part, although Met a couple of those too. But the ratchet part, she is very ratchet. If anybody's actually seen the actual footage, they get her pretty good. They get her pretty well. The actress who played her, she does a bang up job of fucking, I went to school with that girl a few times. I fucking, I know that girl, or knew that girl. Damn, that's, yep. A few fucking times. Her mom, met her too, a few fucking times. Whether it was, in proxy to the girl in question, whether it was in a customer service capacity, whatever the fuck it was, I met that mom a couple of times too, boy. My glaring apprehension was with Sherry Shepherd, if you remember the trailer. I saw the trailer and I'm like, Sherry Shepherd, why'd you get Sherry Shepherd? Looks wise, turns out, relatively there in terms of looking like the mom. In terms of her acting, it helped that she wasn't in it a lot. So she didn't get the chance to overact. She certainly didn't get the chance to be funny. Thank God for that. She was straightforward. A lot of this was kind of, I want to say Hallmark cookie cutter, but not necessarily Hallmark cookie cutter. Okay, before we get to any of that, the trailers. There were trailers before this. I keep forgetting to mention the trailers beforehand. Blinded by the Light was the first one. 0 out of 15. I certainly don't need to see any more of these cheesy, terrible movies that are jerking off some average fucking musical act. Yes, I said it. Sorry. Not even necessarily average, but jerking off this fucking musical act that doesn't need to be jerked off. Okay? Like, listen. Queen biopic was fucking shitty. It was terrible. Everybody knows it was terrible. I didn't see the Elton John biopic, but come the fuck on. Like, that shit wasn't a biopic. That shit was like, that was like, all across the universe, or across the universe. I liked Across the Universe, actually. To be fair, I actually liked Across the Universe for what that was, but didn't need to see the fucking Elton John flick. What's the other one? Queen. Oh, and that other Beatles one that starred that other Indian guy. Fuck that one. Yesterday. Oh, what if the Beatles never existed? Who the fuck cares? Everybody, listen, stop stroking off the goddamn Beatles. Please and thank you. Please and thank you, stop stroking off the goddamn Beatles. The Beatles were okay. They were average at best musicians. Songwriters, they had some good lyrics later on after they started smoking weed. That I Want to Hold Your Hand shit is unlistenable. It's fucking atrocious. And anybody who says they're the greatest band in history, please lay the fuck off. All right? And Springsteen, same fucking shit. All right? Springsteen was fine. Springsteen, very 80s. Springsteen is, and you gotta excuse the darkness, I'm driving, and there's not too much I can do that won't get me a ticket in terms of lighting this place up, but enjoy the ambiance, enjoy the scenes and stuff behind me. Fucking Springsteen is okay. Springsteen was fine, very 80s, working man in Jersey, yeah, okay, fucking fine, okay? Greatest of all time, get the fuck out of here. Listen, maybe it's because I'm a wrestling fan, but when I think Jersey, I don't think Springsteen first. I think fucking Bam Bam Bigelow first, okay? And I'm not gonna think Springsteen first. I'm gonna think Welcome to Asbury Park first. I'm gonna think Luna Salt first, okay? Fucking lay the fuck off this stroke fest for goddamn musicians that are fine, that are probably better than a lot of pop artists today, just because they have more depth to them. But that doesn't mean that they're in this. That doesn't mean that their league is fucking ethereal. That just means that today's pop artists, a lot of times, need to step the shit up. At least the super popular ones need to step the shit up. Like, that's all that really means. So 0 out of fucking 15 of my dollars will be going to that shit. What was the other one? Queen and Slim, which is the Black Lives Matter wet dream of a fucking movie. It looks like it. First off, I'm gonna need homeboy to never get in a car again in a goddamn movie. Ever. Because he's always don't just stay out of cars. Stay out of cars. Okay? Fucking that shit barely worked out in Get Out. At least the car part. Fucking stay out of cars. Okay? If you've seen this trailer, listen. Technically, the movie looks like they did a very good job technically with a lot of the stuff that's in Queen and Slim. They looks like they got a really good cast. Good to see my man Bakeem Woodbine in some shit. I'm always glad to see him in some shit. This sort of slant, not really Bonnie and Clyde, but kind of road trip movie. And, you know, he says to her at the end, like, will you be my legacy, or I'm already am, or whatever the fuck. Ashanti billboard? What? It's 2019. Get that shit down. Put it back 20 years ago. The will you be my legacy, you already are, whatever the fuck. That clearly she probably gets knocked up at some point before he gets shot down by the police at some point. He's not going to go back to jail. He's not going to get off. Spoiler alert, I already know what's going to happen. He's going to get killed. He's going to get shot by the police. He's going to get shot by a popo. He ain't making that. He made it out of Get Out. Hollywood was like, all right, Negro, you made it out of Get Out, but you're not making it out of this fucking movie. I guarantee you he's gonna get shot, and I guarantee you I bet it's gonna be hyperbole all over the fucking place. It's because it's a movie. That's what movies are. They're exaggerated, versions of different things. From a technical standpoint, it looks very good. It looks like the acting is probably going to be very good. It looks like the story is going to be very that's what it is. Just ham-fisted type story. Like it's listen, whatever side you fall on in terms of the police versus civilian debate, and I fall on a very specific one that not a whole lot of people fall on, but that's not what this review's about. This movie, is either going to stir emotions in you one way or the other. So I would say I would probably give it 9 out of $15. It looks like it's going to be a well-made movie. It looks like the story may have some logical issues in different places, but if you lean a certain political way, you're gonna love those logical issues. You're not gonna find any logical issues with it all. And for you, it'll probably be 15 out of 15, and good for you. But for me, looking at that trailer, it's 9 out of 15. What was the other one? Fucking some running movie. Put the title up there. Some fucking running cross-country movie by the makers of like War Room and all those other Christian shitty movies. The only explanation I could figure why that trailer was in this one was shown before this movie was because inspirational movie with all the the love, cool, never give up, boom, boom, that kind of message in this particular movie, in the Brian Banks movie. So they stuck this one in front of that. 0 out of 15. Fucking get the fuck out of here. And then I think Tubman, Harriet, not Tubman, Harriet was the other one that they showed. That looks really good, actually. That looks like a fairly, I'm not gonna say accurate because even if they give that movie 3 hours, you can't go over probably even half of the significant events in Harriet Tubman's life. Like, Harriet Tubman was almost ethereal, really, in her importance to the world. So it's going to be as accurate as it can be for probably 2.5 hours. I was slightly thrown, and I think this is maybe just a generational thing that everybody has, or maybe this is something. There's something when it comes to celebrities nowadays. The actors that they have in Tubman, for the most part, look like modern actors playing these roles, right? They don't look like they necessarily belong in that time period. And this is something that changed probably in the mid-2000s, really. I remember Redcoats really had that problem. It had a myriad of other problems. Redcoats was shit. But it really had that problem that I didn't believe that these people were these characters in World War II. I didn't believe that. Bryan Cranston was the only one I believed. Fucking, what was it, Neo? I didn't believe Neo was a fucking black pilot in World War II. He was Neo, okay? The other characters in Tubman, the other actors in Tubman, especially Janelle Monáe. And I think Janelle Monáe is really steering into that ideological slant with the roles that she takes. Fine, good for her. Make that money, baby. And it works for her brand. She's not like Common that just takes every fucking cop role that comes along. I'm still waiting on that call from Common's agent, by the way. But Janelle Monáe definitely stuck out. She for sure stuck out in this. I'm like, that's not whatever character she is. That's Janelle Monáe. I expect her to start singing a fucking anthem to the pussy any moment now. By the way, she can get away with that shit? Really? Why does... That's a whole nother discussion. But I expect her to sing a ham-fisted, shitty anthem to the pussy anytime now. And I loved Janelle Monáe's first album. But that Pink song was shit. Anyway, but Harriet herself, I believe. Now, you're not going to find an actress that looks anything like Harriet Tubman actually looked. You're not. That is generations gone by. That ain't happening. And if you do, she's probably not an actress. But they found somebody who I believed, at least playing the young Harriet Tubman, worked. There's one scene that looks like she's a little bit older near the end of the trailer. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that one, but in terms of the young Harriet Tubman and all other stuff, that worked. It looks like a good period piece in terms of everything else other than the actors that they got for it. It looks like a lot of unknowns other than Janelle Monáe, which is always a good thing. You know, getting more people paid is always a good thing in my book. I would give that probably, I'd say 12 out of 15, because it looks like a halfway decent, it looks like a really good movie with maybe a couple of flaws, but it looks like a really good movie. I would say Tubman probably gets 12 out of 15 of my dollars. Yeah, so back to the Brian Banks movie. Speaking of age, so we were talking about the acting. Sherry Shepherd benefited from the fact that her role was small. Aldous Hodge, everybody else in this movie was as good as they could be. As good as it gets. Greg Kinnear was as affable in the role of the lawyer, was as personable in the role of the lawyer as he could be with the material that was given. I liked him. I believed him. I believed that he was good at his job. I believed everybody else in this movie was as good at their job. Morgan Freeman's, that was one of the big questions. What was Morgan Freeman? Morgan Freeman played a counselor in the juvenile hall that Brian Banks started at. That was a real person. That's where Morgan Freeman's role comes in. Again, relatively small compared to the rest of the movie, but not as small as I thought it was going to be. He flashes back quite a few times in the movie. Aldous Hodge as an actor in this movie is the big question. Aldous Hodge as an actor in this movie is why I came to see this movie in the first, half the reason why I came to see this movie in the first place. The other half is I know the Brian Banks story. I am a big proponent of, I'm a big fan of Brian Banks. That wrongful conviction shit, that believe everybody shit is garbage. You get evidence, please. The judicial system is bullshit. All that stuff. Listen. Brian's got my support. His story, fucking inspirational. Before we get to the story, we got to get to Aldous Hodge as an actor. And Aldous Hodge as an actor in this movie works for the most part. I will say, don't do that. I will say for the most part. Here's why I say for the most part. There's a couple things that that wasn't in his control. This movie I thought was coming out last year. I thought it was coming out in 2018. Came out this year, summer of this year. Not necessarily garbage time, but almost garbage time. Like, it's the end of the summer. People really aren't, it's maybe not a whole lot of traffic. Movie theaters. My movie theater had me and 3 other people in it. Actually, I think it was 4, and then the other person I didn't see at the end of the movie. I thought the other person may have been Justin Brooks, the actual lawyer portrayed in the movie. I was like, oh, wait a minute, is that actually? Let me look this up. But he was gone by the time the movie ended. So it's an interesting time when they decided to actually release this movie. Did Bleecker Street. The aging technology, I don't know that they put a whole lot of effort into de-aging Aldous Hodge, because you got to remember, this movie starts, or essentially the story starts, when Brian Banks is 16. Aldous Hodge ain't 16 and hasn't been for probably 20 years now. Aldous Hodge is probably in his mid-30s now, I think. So all they really did was shave him and change his hair. Give him not a shitty wig, but give him a bad haircut and a halfway decent wig. But that's all they did to change his age when it went back to high school. Aldous Hodge is a big dude. Aldous Hodge is a big boy. Brian Banks was a big guy too, but the aging thing was not in Aldous' control. The aging thing was in somebody else's control. That was in the directors, that was in the producers, that was in effects. With whatever budget they had, they didn't quite nail that. I didn't believe that was 16-year-old Aldous Hodge, and there was no way I could believe that was 16-year-old Aldous Hodge. That's not a slight on him. That's just the way it crumbled, Cookie. It was just the way it was. Now, Brian Banks looked relatively the same when he was 16 than he did when he was an adult. Aldous Hodge, it was not jarring, but it was like, that was one of the things I wanted to see. It was like, they didn't quite get that right. In terms of Aldous' personality, you didn't get a whole lot of chance to see it. Whatever's at Aldous Hodge, I've seen him on a couple of different things. He's got a personality. He was playing it super strong, super inspirational, it was better than a Hallmark movie, but it wasn't. I won't say Oscar nom right now. Star making, I could see him getting cast in other things, but there were certain things that they did with this movie that keep it from being that other echelon that I was hoping for, that I wanted it to be for Aldous. But it's a good start. It is a very good start. This and What Women Want, or What Men Want, or whatever, it's a good start. So they did a lot of, this was flashback central, this was montage central. You thought Rocky IV had a lot of montages in it. Holy hell. Brian Banks has a lot of montages in it. And it repeats itself a lot. It's not necessarily a 3-dimensional movie, and I'm not sure what would have made it a 3-dimensional movie. We go over Brian Banks and his journey, how he's feeling. We flash back and forth between him in prison, him not in prison, him trying to get a job, all that stuff that happens to convicts. We at one point go to the Innocence Project, see them start to try to piece together this case and figure all that out. I don't know what would have added that third dimension to this movie, and that probably comes from a place of not. There's something that would have made this. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is. They needed to cut out some of the repetition, like I probably need to with this video, but won't. So F off. But they needed to cut out some of the repetition when it came to the dialogue. It was a lot of, you gotta help me, I can't help you. You gotta help me, I can't help you. You gotta help me, okay, I'll help you. You gotta help me more, I can't help you. You gotta help me more, I can't help you. You gotta help me more, I can't help you. You gotta help me more, okay, I'll help you. Like, it was a lot. We went back and forth a lot. I needed something else. And they tried to throw something else in there. They tried to throw in a love angle with the girl that you see in the trailers. Turns out he meets her at a gym that he's trying to get a job at, but can't get a job at because of his record. I don't know. She doesn't. So no, she doesn't play the woman that would eventually become Brian's wife. She may be a representation of it, but Brian and his wife got divorced at a certain point, like before the movie came out last year. So I'm not sure if she's a representation or an amalgam of, you know, different women or just a whole cloth, you know, fake character. But they tried to add a love story. That's very one-dimensional, because all we know about her is that she works at the gym, and eventually we find out she was the actual victim of rape. That's all we know. We don't really get to see, like, their love blossoming is really more gym montages. It's more than working out because she's a personal trainer at the gym. That's kind of it. Like, we don't get to see any of that connection between Brian Banks and Karina, I think her name is. We don't really get to see that. Even like slight glances or something like that, we don't really get to see. So she doesn't even really become something that fuels his fight to clear his name. It doesn't even really become I gotta do this for Karina. You know, I gotta do this for me, I gotta do this for you, I gotta do this for all the other people, I gotta do this for Karina. It doesn't even really become that. She's just kind of there. She's another movie that has her as kind of as the woman is kind of window dressing. In the movie, and I think in real life, Brian Banks gets contacted by the girl that Kanisha that set him up in the first place. She says on tape that he didn't do it. The tape was inadmissible because he didn't get the permission of her to record her, but it gets released anyway through news stories, and then he picks up momentum, and then eventually he gets released. Before he gets released, the way he gets thrown in jail is the way a lot of people get thrown in jail. Cop a plea. Fucking the lawyer says cop a plea, we'll get your probation. He cops a plea, gets 6 years in jail instead. Like, he cops a plea. It's like, fuck it, throw you in jail. Like, as opposed to getting the probation that he thought he was going to get because the system is too clogged up. And I mentioned this in the trailer. If more people fought the system would be forced to change. But everybody is intimidated by the system, and they make this point in the movie. The system tells you to give up, so most people give up. I think I stumbled onto the core issue with this movie. Overall, it's not as full as it should be. It's above like a Hallmark movie for sure. It's above a made-for-TV movie for sure. But it's not as full. It's not as... I don't want to use the word dense, but it's thinner than it should be for the story of Brian Banks. It's thinner than it should be for Aldous Hodge as an actor. It's thinner than it should be for the audience. It picks up momentum, and you start to actually feel for the real life circumstances, the real life cases, the real life people that have to go through this in the broken judicial system near the end of the movie, especially when you get to see the real life footage of Brian Banks, the real life pictures of people that were exonerated by the Innocence Project. You get to see the real life, the side-by-side pictures. That's when it becomes realer. The execution of this movie leaves you with a story that is shallower for the screen than it needs to be. And it's not like with Harriet Tubman. With the Harriet Tubman movie, there's probably going to be too much that they can't put into the movie just for time. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there for 10 hours. It feels like, however, there are parts in this movie where they are reaching for stuff to throw in, but for whatever reason, they go back to the same thing, which doesn't make sense to me, because this feels like a rich enough, dense enough story that you should have the 2 hours run its course and feel what you need to feel, or hour and a half and feel what you need to feel and get out. It doesn't need to be as thinly done as I think it overall was. Now, the Brian Banks story deserves to be told. Yes, it does. The Brian Banks story was told. I'm glad it was. I wish I had seen more people in the theater for this. I don't think it got a lot of press, though. I know I didn't see any, and I covered it. I didn't see any trailers for it before any videos I did or watched. I didn't. Yeah, all I really saw of it was like a couple of things on Instagram, Facebook, only because I liked the Facebook and Instagram pages to impart, to kind of see where the movie was going. I don't think it got a lot of press. The movie didn't. The story did, but I don't think the movie did, and that's a damn shame. That's a shame. Now, today was the opening day, and hopefully it'll pick up some steam. But again, I feel like it was kind of thrown into a semi-garbage slot. Like, what's out right now? Like Dora the fucking Explorer and Hobbs and Shaw, for fuck's sake. Like, between Lion King, Hobbs and Shaw, that's probably sucking up almost all the ticket sales. If anybody's gonna go see Dora the Explorer, you're a fucking moron. And this, which is kind of sitting there languishing, and that's a shame. And part of it may be people didn't know that it was out yet, because most people don't know that some places get a quote-unquote early release. In LA, we get an early release. Now, I'm mad that the quote-unquote early release was at like 6 o'clock, and that was the earliest tonight. Like, I wanted to see this during the day and have this all out to you earlier, but here we are. Oh, there were a couple of cuts that actually didn't help the movie, and there was one in particular I wanted to point out to give Sherry Shepherd some credit. There was a scene where Sherry Shepherd is talking to the prosecutor and Justin L. Brooks, Greg Kinnear, and about, this is my son, and he's this, and he's that, and I love him. Do you have a child? He was wrongfully convicted. He was innocent, and blah, 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 blah. And the music's swelling. A lot of music swells, and a lot of music swells in this one. I won't say Oscar bait, because it sure wasn't Oscar bait, but a lot of, let's punch at that heartstring, baby. A lot of those, a lot of that. There's a cut from Sherry Shepherd to the prosecutor at a pivotal point in Sherry Shepherd's speech that shouldn't have been there. It's stuff like that. Like, it's almost there. It's like, it's good. It's almost. Don't make that cut. Show me her face. Show me the emotion on her face, unless it's not getting over. But show me the emotion on her face. Show me her begging for her son's life. Show me, because she sounded like she was hitting it. And looking at the shot that we had beforehand, it looked like she was hitting it. And then it made this cut to the DA I don't need to see the DA then. I need to see the DA after she makes this impassioned speech, not before. There was a cut where we're going back to the judge, who they make seem like just a complete callous ass in this movie for the couple of times that he's there. Before the judge brings down his overall decision to overturn the Brian Banks case, we get another montage. We get another flashback. We get a Rocky-esque flashback where we're flashing back to him on the football field and him in jail and him in the school and this and that and da 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 da. Okay, it's one of those shots that's like, I didn't need that shot. Here's what I needed. I needed the judge's decision. I didn't need that shot. You held on to that shot too long. The editing there didn't help the overall product. You tried to put in something that wasn't necessary. And there were a couple of things like that. They made it was overall, I would say, particularly knowing the story of Brian Banks, it's worth seeing. It's definitely worth seeing, if for no other reason than that second half where they're wrapping it up, and especially seeing the actual people in the Innocence Project. I feel like the story of Brian Banks deserved better than this movie, but the movie itself was not bad. So on a scale of $15, Brian Banks movie. Ooh, this is tough. The Brian Banks movie, because I empathize so much with Brian Banks in this the real Brian Banks, and I want good things for Aldous Hodge as an actor, just from the goodwill that he's given as a fan of his, right? So, but all that said, the movie in question, objectively, the movie in question that we're talking about, on a scale of $15, deserves I'd say 11 out of the $15. I'd say 11 out of the $15. Because again, it's good. There are things that keep it from being great, but it's good. And again, the acting in it, especially from Sherry Shepherd, is better than it. The Sherry Shepherd acting is better than I thought it was going to be. The Aldous Hodge acting is the one to look out for. He's good. He's good. He's good. Greg Kinnear delivered again, as always. Morgan Freeman delivered again, as always. He didn't have a whole lot to work with, but he delivered, as always. And again, I go back to the girl who accused him and her mom. That is spot on. That is exactamundo. That I know those girls. That is, whoo, oh, they got that absolutely correct. In terms of the ratchetness, Jesus. But yeah, I feel confident in saying 11 out of 15 because it's good. It's not as great as it should be, but it's good, and it's a good start for Aldous Hodge. It is a good. It's worthwhile if for no other reason than for you to look into the Innocence Project. It's good if for no other reason for you to look into Brian Banks' story. And if not change your perspective, at least see somebody else's. At least see what the other side of not all men, or all those other stupid, all those other hashtag wars that we get into on fucking Twitter and Facebook and all other bullshit. Everybody hashtag fucking believe all women, not all men, fucking all this other bullshit, right? Actual people are affected by this shit every day. We need to examine how we look at these actual issues that affect actual people's lives, whenever they affect actual people's lives, every time they affect actual people's lives. This ain't just a hashtag. This shit is real. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like I wanted this movie to be better than it turned out to be, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad movie. It's a shame that it got a low turnout, at least tonight. Hopefully it doesn't get a bad turnout in the weeks to come. More people see it, and it becomes the stepping stone for Aldous Hodge. He's already got his new show out with, I think it was Kevin Bacon. Good for him. Glad he's got that. I'll try to see if I can get a hold of that. Party people, I need for you to get a hold of me. Down there in the comments section, I need for you to tell me, did you see the Brian Banks movie? Do you want to see the Brian Banks movie? Did I change your opinion at all about the Brian Banks movie? Have you heard anything about Brian Banks at all? You should. You should have when I did the trailer. I know that you watched it. I know you did. Everybody watched it. I'm the man. But tell me what you think about it in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. All the links down there in the description. Do that shit. Subscribe Star helps keep the lights on at the party. Patreon helps keep the lights on at the party. PayPal helps keep the lights on at the party. Venmo helps keep the lights on at the party. You don't understand how big a thing that is. I am not monetized anywhere yet. I am trying to get monetized places. I need more viewers. I need more watch time. And even then, that may not be, YouTube sucks when it comes to what they do with their content creators, especially the small ones. So, you want more videos like this? You want more of the party? Let me know by subscribing, and you get some stuff. Let me know by helping to support, and you get some stuff. And you get to see this, the pretty face, when you actually get to see the pretty face. As of right now, I look more like Batman than anything else. But when you get to see the pretty face, you get to see the pretty face, and that, party people, ain't bad. Actually, I do. As always, Cheers.